What's up, everybody? It's Andre Iguodala from the Golden State Warriors here. It's my pleasure, on behalf of New Amendment and the Point Forward podcast, to invite you all out on Friday, March 10th, to Beyond the Big Ten live recording taking place at Over Under Sports Bar in Lincoln Park, Chicago. That's Friday, March 10th at Over Under from 3 to 7 p.m. Look forward to catching y'all there.
What's good, Badger fans? We are back to tip off another edition of a Shot of Wisky podcast, brought to you by the good people at New Amendment as a part of Beyond the Big Ten Podcast Network. You can check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcast, and on YouTube and all other socials, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok with the handle at Beyond the Big Ten, not spelled out, but the number 10. Also, once again, if you are going to be in Chicago for the Big Ten tournament this weekend, be sure to stop by the Over Under Sports Bar for the Beyond the Big Ten live podcast event featuring 2011 National Player of the Year and former second overall pick Evan Turner, as well as other Big Ten basketball legends. A Shot of Wisky is looking for some representation. Josh Gasser was supposed to be there, but he's on vacation, so we'll keep y'all posted on that. But stay tuned for social media posts, as two winners will receive signed memorabilia and a VIP ticket to the games. I am still former Badger All-American Jordan Taylor, and with me is still the former Badger All-American, 2011 second-round pick and 8-year NBA vet, my guy, Jon Leuer. What's happening, man? What's good with you?
What's up, man? I'm good. I'm in Nashville right now without any power. I'm back in the 17th century. Tornadoes knocked everything out here. I think there's 1 million people without power in Nashville. So it's my lighting in here is by candlelight and natural light. That's all we have to work with today.
You ain't got the backup generator over there. You ain't got no panic room or safe room in there.
Funny? You know what's funny is a month ago we got a quote for a backup generator, and it was astronomically high. So my wife and I were like, we probably don't need it. And now power's been out for 2 days. A month later, and we're like, shit, we should have got it.
It's crazy how that worked, man. Hey, man, stop being cheap, man. Just go ahead and get you the backup generator, man. Go ahead and get you the backup generator.
Yeah. We might have to.
How are they? They're good, man. They're good. Just out in London, got back into action. We had a little break from games, so we just started back up last night. Beat a team by like 25. So it's good, man. 2 months left in the season, hitting the home stretch, and we'll go from there. But
I didn't check box scores. How'd my guy do?
Who that?
You.
Me? Oh, I didn't know if you was talking about Sam Decker or something like that. I did all right, man. I didn't shoot well, but had like 10 and 7 or something like that. I don't know what it was. Okay. So, yeah, just getting back. I'm an old vet, man. I just try and give the ball to the guys who look good. That's how I used to do for you back in the day. Just pass you the ball and you make me look good. So that's the secret, man. That's
and then what about our other Big Ten guys?
Sam, man, Sam Costa is not playing BBL, only Euro Cup, but Sam is playing some of the best basketball, in my opinion, that I've got to watch him play, man. He's playing out of his mind right now. Really efficient, shooting the ball, really efficient, getting downhill, and he's in a new role as a playmaker a lot with this team. So it's fun to watch him actually grow as a player. Actually, it's really cool to see.
Good.
So good. All good, man. But also, before we get started, man, we have to shout out the Badger fans and anybody that tuned in. Or does tune in to the show. We reached 65 on the top 100 basketball podcasts on Chartable this week. So shout out to everybody that tuned in, and hope you guys continue to listen and check out the content coming your way. And also shout out Coach Ryan for stopping by the show as well. Obviously, he was a big boost to the show. So yeah, man. But let's jump into it, man. X's and O's, man. We had Purdue this week. Lot to talk about. Only one game to cover right now, but I think a lot to cover from that game. I'll let you go first. You know how we do it. We'll go 2 things we didn't like, and I'll let you lead it off.
Yeah, I would say, the first half we just made some dumb passes. We were looking at the defender. We saw our guy was denied, and we still made the pass to him. I think that happened like 3 or 4 times. I don't think I'd ever seen that before. Where it was just like so blatantly obvious that it was going to be a turnover. So that was a little bit frustrating because that leads to runouts, right? Transition opportunities. And then if there was one other thing that I would think I'd like to see done differently would be Isaac Lindsey getting in the second half.
Yeah.
Because he was hot in the first half. And I know it was unexpected. He's not really part of the rotation, right? But man, he was hitting jab and J threes.
Man, what?
And when I saw him, he had it going like that, it brought me back to like Rob Wilson when you were playing, right? When he dropped 7 or 8 threes against Indiana, and he probably had his career high before that was like 2 or 3 probably. So I think you get him out there in the second half, let him see if he can hit a couple more and he stays hot. Maybe he goes off, but obviously we have a pretty loaded backcourt, and Coach Gard wanted Connor and Jordan Davis and Klesmit, who played great too. So it was understandable, but I just thought I'd like to see him, you throw him out there, maybe he misses his first 2 and then you pull him out. But the way he had to go in the first half, would have been fun to see him out there.
Yeah, it's one of those things too where it's first of all, it's crazy because we used to share these notes right before these episodes, and we would kind of go off the notes. And now I don't think we don't share the notes as much anymore. And I think I wrote that exactly down. Was Isaac Lindsey more minutes and careless turnovers were 2 of the things that I didn't like as well. But I think
to be honest, I never looked at those notes one time anyway when you sent them to me. So.
That's why I stopped. That's why I stopped sending them to you, because I was like, I know this man's not looking at these joints. But I think Isaac Lindsey, it's one of those things that's cool to see, because it's like, damn, we talk about the depth, and it's like, well, you know what? Maybe we do have more talent than we thought, which I think is cool to see as a fan. You know what I mean? Like, to your point, Rob Wilson coming off the bench and doing that. And it's kind of like, oh, shoot, like, all right, we're going to be all right moving forward and looking ahead. But at the same time, I thought, it's been well documented what we think of Coach Gard as a coach. I think Coach Gard is one of the best coaches in the Big Ten. I think what I didn't like and what I saw from this game was that we still are struggling to kind of find an identity in March. And I think it was apparent because I think it shows through the players on the floor. I think it showed up through Coach Gard, the way he coached this game. I think he was trying to maybe overcoach, try and control a little bit too much, in the sense that he was very – obviously that game was the biggest game of the year. So I thought that, the possession where Tyler Wall had the loose ball late in the game and Edey was trailing him, I think Coach Gard called the timeout in transition. To try to call a set, which, I thought maybe you should have let that one play out. But at the same time, we've been in this situation so many times where he's drawn up something amazing and you get a good shot and you don't make it. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, man, it's a catch-22, because who do you give the ball to now? Do you give it to Chucky, who's hit shots, but he's also missed shots and, maybe messed up some reads? Do you give it to Max, who last game, they went to the clear out against Purdue this time. He scored on that against Michigan. I think he got fouled this time. Do you give it to Tyler, who's struggling and maybe has a tough mismatch or tough matchup with Edey? So that was a thing that I think this game was just kind of a microcosm of the entire season, where it's like, man, I didn't walk away from the game thinking we were way less talented than Purdue. I walked away from the game thinking, like, Purdue knows exactly who they are and we don't quite have an identity.
Yeah, and I think as far as the timeouts down the stretch, honestly, that's what Coach Gard has done all year. So I think he was just being true 100%. To who he's been. And like you said, a lot of times it works out where he draws up something amazing and it works. I think he goes by the motto that you're not trying to save your timeouts and have them left over for the next game, right? Like he's going to use them in those crucial situations. And, I think that's the right call. Obviously, you want to see if maybe you can get something easy in transition, like that possession with Tyler Wall that you were talking about. But I think, he was being true to who he's been this year. And it's for the most part, it's worked out for him really well. And then, I think when you say lack of identity, to me, and then you touched on, kind of who's the go-to guy. I think that's the biggest thing for us right now. It's like, down the stretch of games, who is that go-to guy? Obviously, there was no doubt last year when you had Johnny Davis, like the ball was in his hands. And, Klesmit really had it going. He was my bright spot for the game. Something I really liked was how well he played. So I think it was the right decision to put it in his hands, and I think he did get fouled on that. That was another thing I didn't like was the refs missed one there. The only other option I can think of is maybe you draw it up for Connor because he's probably the best shot creator one-on-one against his man. But I like the decision to go with Klesmit because he had it going.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I think it was a really good offensive second half. I think we had 30 second half points with 4 minutes left to play in the game. And we ended up without a field goal the rest of the game. But to your point, that's not because of lack of getting good shots. You get a wide open Chucky, three, kind of shot fake sidestep, a wide open Tyler Wall three. Maybe, Chucky on the baseline, that shot on the baseline he took, but that was late shot clock where I thought Tyler maybe even had a shot in the paint earlier in the possession that he could have taken. And then you have Max Klesmit going to his right on the clear out. So, I mean, you can nitpick and be like, man, maybe Chucky makes the extra pass to Max right there instead of taking the sidestep or whatever it is. But again, you end up with good shots. So that was probably the most frustrating loss to me of the season just because of those reasons. Like you just have to make those shots.
Yeah, honestly, man, it's funny you said that because when I was watching it, I literally thought that to myself. The Chucky sidestep three was a great look because his man flew by, right? And then Tyler Wall wide open. I'm sitting there and I'm like, because those are, the last minute and a half of the game. I'm like, if you want to beat a top 5 team in the country, those are 2 shots you got to hit. You got to hit one of them, right? You got to hit one of them.
You bury him if you hit 2, but yeah, you got to make one.
Yeah, when we missed both of those, I was like, oh, now you're in a late execution game, and it comes down to a ref missing a call, whatever. I think if we make one, if we make both, that game we're getting fouled and going to the line the rest of the game.
100%. And I think, again, just to what I was saying, I guess with the lack of identity, when we were playing right, we knew it was going to be me and you. It was going to be you on the block, or maybe even it was going to be me and Keaton or something like that. Like that was it. With this team, again, and I think that's where I think maybe the struggle is. You don't know who it's going to be. And I don't think everybody's confident enough to have a by committee approach with it. But again, Coach Gard, to his credit, is he's kind of scratching and clawing and looking for answers, and I think that's one of his strengths is drawing up these end of game sets, or one of his greatest strengths, I should say. But the one where Max Klesmit got Tyler the wide open three, I think in that situation, you got to understand, maybe you have Steven Crowell stay high and Tyler goes low. Maybe you want the better shooter, but then maybe you look at it, maybe he was thinking Zach Edey out on the floor and you don't want him under the basket. So it's like it's one of those things. The other thing I didn't like, I thought that Tyler didn't do a great job of exploiting that matchup with Edey. Like you have him out on the perimeter. He kept taking him under the basket and trying these sweeping hooks and stuff like that. To me, that's when you got to get the ball. You got to do kind of like how Giannis, for Wisconsin fans that would see something similar, how Giannis did in the finals against the Suns. He was catching out on the floor, swinging it, quick screen, and now you're making Edey move, and then you're playing fast. Which he just didn't really do that well this game, I thought. Yeah,
and that was a good defensive strategy by Matt Painter too to put him by. And he hit his first 3. I was hoping he could maybe hit a couple more and they might get out of it. But credit to him, that was a smart strategic decision.
Yep, no doubt. But that's all right, man. There's still time left. Let's move some of the things that we did like. I guess we touched on some of them. Obviously, Max Klesmit played out of his mind. Some of the shot making from him, just off the threes he hit, late clock threes, the switch threes, and just to reiterate, we had several chances to win that game. So I really think you look at that game. I saw some fans just on Twitter here and there, like Purdue's not the number 5 team in the country, kind of downplaying this Wisconsin team. But Purdue has run through the Big Ten. I can't remember the last time someone won the Big Ten this quickly. Could be wrong. Fact check me.
Outright. Yeah.
Outright. So Purdue is every bit a really good team. And I think you were right back. And you said Zach Edey was probably the best big man in the conference. I think you were spot on with that. So for us to play with them like that, I like what this team has moving forward, whether it's in the tournament or next year.
Yeah, I know. It just occurred to me, and I keep going back to when I think about this team, what Coach Ryan said when we had him on last week. we are a good team. Yeah. And we are, it's just, it hasn't shown itself as far as, now with the NCAA tournament being probably outside the bubble. But we are a good team. And, I'm hoping we can get hot in the Big Ten tournament and make a run. But either way, like you said, we have a foundation to build on for next year. And we can, everybody develops, everybody gets better, and we can really do some things. I firmly believe that.
Yep. And that being said, we're moving into the end of the season, not the latter part, the end of the season. So we'll move into the scouting report on that, man. And Mike DeCourcy still has us as the last four in somehow, some way. So as of a day and a half ago, post Purdue game, still has us on the last four in. We said we had to go 3-1.
Still won't give us a magic number. I know that.
Still won't give us a magic number. I don't know if it's because we're in his head over there still or what, but he still has us last four in. Not sure how, to be honest with you. I'll be 100% honest with you, but we're 1-2. We said going into that. What was the game before Michigan? My brain is going numb on me. We had who we played before Michigan, the game we won, Iowa, and Michigan. We said we had to win 3 out of those 4. We're 1-2 so far with 2 really heartbreaking losses, and still right there. So that being said, right now we'd be playing on the first day in Chicago against Minnesota. Minnesota is our last game of the year. What do you think is going to take for us to get into the tournament? Solidify a tournament spot.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you got to take care of this last one at Minnesota. And then I think you got to go to the semis if you really don't want to be sweating it out, you got to go to the championship game. But I think semis, you're probably going to beat a good team, get another quad 1 win. I think that does it for us. And the fact that we're somehow still in, I think that would do it.
I think, well, first of all, Minnesota, obviously we're not touching too much on the Minnesota scouting report. They just came off of a crazy comeback win against Rutgers at home. Jamison Battle, Minnesota product, hit a game winner. That game, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a little terrified for that game. I'm a little terrified. That game feels like a must-win game for so many reasons. One, just for Coach Gard and Joe and those guys, losing that game could be catastrophic in so many ways. Obviously, from a fan standpoint, we've been trying to talk fans off the ledge all year. And then obviously for the tournament purposes, and just I think for development purposes, that would just leave a sour taste in players, coaches, fans, everybody's mouths. So on the road rivalry game, that's a must-win game. And then obviously I think that if you win the first 2, depending on who you match up with on the second day, which right now I'm not exactly sure who it would be, but if it's like I think 11 seed, so what that would be, we play the 6 seed or something like that. We have to go check on who the 6 seed is, but either way, I think if you get 2, then you're squarely in the tournament, in my opinion. But what's your thoughts on just the Minnesota game on Sunday in general?
Yeah, well, you got to think this is their Super Bowl, right? They don't have anything to play for after this, obviously. And they get up for playing against Wisconsin. We know that. So, yes, the emotional side of it is going to be such a huge piece. Like we've touched on before, Wisconsin always has a bunch of guys from Minnesota. When you go back there playing in front of your friends and family, how we were. We were like, I don't want to have to hear my friends and family, taking jabs at me this summer in the offseason about how we lost to the Gophers. So there's that element to it. The Gophers are either coming off a big win. They haven't had many, right? So they actually have some momentum for the first time all Big Ten season. And last time we played, it was a close game. I know Tyler Wall went down early in that one, but I think it ended up being a 3-point game. Now you're going to their place, so it's not gonna. There's no easy wins in the Big Ten. We've talked about that before, but this one especially because of the emotional component, it's going to be a grind out.
Yeah, and I don't want to do no jinxing this time, so I'm gonna leave it alone, man. I'm not going to say anything on it. But I just hate the way the tables are set for this game in general. It's Ben Johnson, who is probably on the hot seat in Minnesota himself, and you know how those Minnesota Gopher fans live and die on beating Wisconsin and anything. Like they literally, Wisconsin fans not so much, but Minnesota, if you go 19 in the Big Ten, but you beat Wisconsin and you knock them out of the tournament, that's their, like you said, their Super Bowl. So I just hate I hate the setup for this game. I hate it a lot. I have confidence that we'll get it done, but yeah, for me, it's just I just don't like I just don't like it.
No, I hear you. But let's look big, a little big picture perspective here for Badger fans. We've talked about, hey, like we're on the bubble. We get that. We might not make the tournament. We get that. But just for perspective, you could be a Gopher fan and be 2-18 in the Big Ten. So life's all about perspective. Badger fans, keep that in mind.
100%. And if this is the you see, again, just to reference some of the Twitter chatter that I've seen this week, if this is as bad as it gets, I see people feel like the world is collapsing because we're on the bubble. There's not a lot of programs where you even have the right to feel that way. You have the right to feel like, being on the bubble and potentially getting in or not getting into the tournament means that the program's going to hell. So again, I'm still confident in the fact that we'll get into the tournament, but yeah, I am admittedly nervous about this game, and just want them to take care of business. I hope they go in and make a statement and win by 22. That would be even better.
I would love it.
Our guys at Outside the Barn, shout out Beyond the Big Ten and the other series of podcasts, are having a live podcast event this week. So if you are in Minnesota, you can go check that out and boo those guys if you can. I believe it's at Tony's Diner on campus in Dinkytown. And still,
that's
like we
Blake,
said,
Trevor, and Kendall.
Blake Hoffarbor, Trevor Mbakwe, and Kendall Shell, Outside the Barn. So if you're a Wisconsin fan and you want to go heckle some Gophers, go check it out at Tony's Diner before the game this week. I think it's from 3 to 5, but we'll have to double check on that. You can check social media to find out if, when, and where that happens. Granted that this drops before that happens.
And I feel kind of bad for those guys, like all year long, right? You got to talk about, well, maybe next one we'll get a win. Maybe next one we'll get a win. They were already talking about building for next year in early December.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Poor guys, man. Poor guys. Those are guys. We're friends with all of them, but I empathize with them.
No, and friends with the coaching staff. I know you played against De La Salle growing up, so even Coach Thorson over there. So I do feel bad, but yeah, those dudes they haven't had a lot to get excited about all year long.
Yeah, Coach Thorson knocked me out my senior year in high school. So yeah, I don't feel bad for that.
So forget it, right? Hey, but yeah, they were talking to Cam Christie on their podcast talking about the future. And unfortunately, they lost their best recruit as well. So to your point, yeah, it could get a whole lot worse. They lost Dennis Evans to Louisville before he even stepped on campus. So listen, yeah, it's tough up there in Minneapolis. 18 inches of snow and you losing your best recruits, and obviously you got to cheer for the Vikings as well. It's tough sledding up there, man. But hey, let's move to the word on campus. Topic is Tyler Wahl, senior. Well, it's going to be a myriad of topics, but Tyler Wahl, senior night. Let's just talk about him. What if he comes back? What does that mean for this team? And I know you're Mr. PC over there, so I don't want to put you too much on the spot. But as a fan, put your fan hat on. And do you want Tyler Wahl to come back? Obviously, he's a great player, and he'll help the team, no question. But, like, do you want does that stunt the growth of, like, Gus coming in and Nolan Winter and those guys, do you think, or is it better for them to see a fifth-year senior and kind of learn the ropes? And I guess now you maybe put your fan hat on and put on your, coming in as a freshman, if you can think back that far. I know we old now. Yeah,
no, 100%. I think it would be an amazing thing for him to come back, and not as a PC, as you said, statement. I genuinely believe that. Just because you look at the 4 position and other than him, who do we really have? Is Gus a 4? Is Nolan Winter's not a 4? I think Gus is probably more of a 5. So you really don't have anybody to backfill him right now that you would, trust playing starter minutes. And, I think he comes back fully healthy next year. Maybe he develops his jumper a little more. But just all the stuff he does for you, and we've talked about it at length on this podcast. He does so many things for you that don't show up in the box score. But yeah, I would love to have him back. I think he'd be a crucial piece for us. He can almost be, I feel like next year, more of a role player than, at times he had to be our go-to guy, where I think you're going to see Connor take such a big jump. Hopefully Chucky takes a big jump from his sophomore to junior year as well. But I see the offense flowing through Connor next year. I look at him as like a first team all Big Ten player potentially. And I think Tyler Wall could be a great piece to fit in next to him.
Let's say, well, I agree with you first and foremost. Let me say that, but I'm gonna play devil's advocate with you. But before I do, just as someone who's gone through, dealing with injuries in your senior year, I almost want Tyler to come back just for that. Because I dealt with an ankle injury my entire senior year as well. So it's tough to go out that way. So yeah, I would love to see him come back. But that being said, for his individual self, I don't even know, is it best for him to come back to school, or is it best for him to start his pro career if that's what he so chooses to do? It's a limited time to make money. I guess you have NIL now, but still, maybe it's better for him to start his pro career.
I'm telling you, man, with the way NIL set up now, you're going to make more in college your last year, like over on the open market than he would overseas. Because you know how it is as a rookie overseas, what you're getting. And I think you're making more, you're making more in college now. So why wouldn't you?
There's go ahead.
I was just going to say from a monetary standpoint, it makes sense.
Yeah. I was just saying, only a few guys especially now, and only a few guys overseas are making 6 figures that first year. I think that's one of the misconceptions of overseas. So yeah.
And I think Kyler would get $400,000 or $500,000 to Tyler, come back to Wisconsin or if he decides to move on elsewhere and hit free agency in college basketball now. But, I hope he doesn't do that, but he's gonna make some money if he does come back.
Yeah. So that being said as well, if Tyler comes back and let's just say hypothetically Connor does what we think he can do, maybe Connor does the Johnny Davis type jump, puts on weight, maybe he's a draft pick after next year. Now, from Coach Gard's perspective, to me, you have to start looking at how that's going to affect the program as well. So let's say Connor has a big jump and he exits after his sophomore year, and then you lose Tyler and Connor in one swoop. Maybe you have a crazy year next year, but then you're right back in this position that you're in now 2 years from now. You know what I'm saying? Is that how do you combat that? Or is that something that you really want to do? Or for a Wisconsin type program, do you want to continue to preach this continuity, kind of just getting 4th-year guys, getting them out, keep cycling, turning over, guys, showing them the ropes and kind of the old school model that Coach Ryan had, if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, I think that's just kind of the new landscape of college basketball. And obviously now that we're having guys that are lottery picks after their second year, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think we would have said after Johnny Davis left last year, well, who's going to be and then we found Connor. And give credit to this coaching staff, man. Both facts. Johnny Davis and Connor Esiason, very under-recruited, very overlooked by so many big-time schools. They found kind of the diamonds in the rough. I think, from a recruiting standpoint, that's way harder than sitting there landing 5-star after 5-star. To find those guys that are like that can be a lottery pick after a couple of years is incredible. So shout out to the coaching staff for that. I think if Connor does leave after next year, hypothetically, you try to find the next one. You try to find somebody in the transfer portal. it's just, it's a revolving door. It was a revolving door when we were there, but it was every 4 years, right? You had guys there every 4 years. Yeah, 3 or 4 years. And now just with the transfer portal, with obviously guys going pro earlier, that door is now a 2-year revolving door, it seems like. But you got to adjust and adapt. And I think the coaching staff's done a pretty good job of that.
Nah, they definitely have, and they're gonna have their work continually cut out for them. It's crazy. I was on Twitter a lot this week because I was, after watching that game, and I saw, me, I'll play devil's advocate 24 hours a day and argue with people who I don't even know, might be in their basement somewhere or might be, on a spaceship. I'll debate with anybody. But it took everything in me. It took everything in me not to respond. I saw somebody say that, this coaching staff doesn't develop players. And I was like, what are we talking about? Like, what are we talking about here? This is nuts. So, but that being said, it's crazy how the development can almost backfire and blow up in your face in a way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you're doing your job. But then, if you want guys to stay on campus, that's also a detriment because now maybe you're not getting some of the best talent because like, oh God, everybody thinks they're an NBA player now. You know what I'm saying? So it's such a catch-22. It's such a rock in a hard place type situation. Go ahead.
Honestly, is it better now in college basketball to find those guys that are like really good college players, but that are like, maybe we take them in the late second round, like Oscar Tshiebwe, right? He player of the year, and he would have been a second round pick last year because he doesn't translate super well to the NBA. Luka Garza, another one. Is it better? Should you gear your recruiting towards those guys, like guys that won't translate well to the NBA but are great college players because they're going to be there for 4 years?
Man, I think that's the easiest way to keep your job and to have a successful program, and to create continuity. But I don't think it's not the sexiest way, and I think everybody nowadays kind of wants sexy. Admittedly, I'll say like Wisconsin fans, even who. I don't think it's ever been sexy at Wisconsin, but you kind of see fans now talking about, oh, we need this guy and like this guy, we need this 4 or 5 star guy. It's like we've never been that. Like we've always had, top 100 guys, 4 stars, maybe 3 stars. But I get times are changing. If you don't change, you get left behind. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know the right answer to that question. I wish I had a better answer. For me, if I was a coach, I would, I'm swinging for the fences because I'm the type of dude, if I'm going to play Monday morning quarterback. And yeah, if I was a coach, I'm trying to get every 5 star. And if I don't, I'm going to just get fired and go somewhere else. But that's me talking with absolutely nothing on the line.
You'll get fired and go to TV and make your money there.
Yeah. I'm going to do something. Yeah, I'm going to do something. But yeah, building a program now is a difficult thing to do. And we didn't even get into the politics of it where, obviously on the football side, you have Luke Fickell kind of building a sexy type program. So you're going to have that creates a division amongst basketball fans to a degree for what they want to see there. So it's a tough job, man. It's a tough situation for players, coaches. It's becoming increasingly more business oriented, I should say, rather than amateur oriented, which, like I said, you can have a whole podcast on this, but when you get into that NIL stuff, it's there's gifts and curses to everything. There's pros and cons to everything. So
there's a reason why Bo Ryan last episode said, I'm so glad I'm on a golf course in Southern California, because he would have absolutely hated this dealing with this. Like he would have, he got out at the right time.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I was actually surprised to hear him admit that he would have struggled with it. It was actually funny to hear. But yeah, man, it's again, just not to keep beating a dead horse. It's going to be interesting to see how this Wisconsin program and Coach Gard adapt to these times. And right now, at some point, I know they've kind of made a point of not getting into the portal to keep the continuity of the team. But I think at some point you might have to dip into that transfer portal, and obviously they did with Max Klesmit.
Yeah,
not saying that they
last year was a big rotation player.
Yep. So not to say that they don't do it at all, but I think they might even have to get more aggressive with it moving forward. If you have guys like Connor Essegian and even Chucky, a guy like Chucky, who knows what's going to happen in his future with whether it's NBA or whatever. He's got that I think he's got that backup point guard in the league mold. If he can make a splash. And let me not limit him, because I would never want to limit anybody. Maybe even a starting point guard at some point. But I think, when you look at his game, that's just, I think you know what I mean. So both of those guys have a lot of potential. So yeah, we'll see what happens, man, and we'll see how things continue to unfold. But you got anything else for us this week, man? Or you got it? You almost out of power over there?
I am, man. Once this phone dies, I am disconnected from the world. I got to go to a Starbucks or something to charge it up, because it's tough 17th century living over here.
It's just you and Keegan over there once that phone dies, huh? Y'all in the trenches.
By candlelight, yeah.
By candlelight. All right, man. That's all we got for you, man. Look, we appreciate y'all tuning in this week. Only a couple more, I think only 1 or 2 more episodes left this season, man. So y'all keep tuning in as we go into the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament. Everybody keep hope alive. Only make sure y'all following along on IG, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube with the handle @Beyond the Big Ten. Again, that is the number 10, not spelled out. I am Jordan Taylor. That is Jon Leuer. And last thing, my fault, make sure if y'all are in Chicago this week to go check out the live event on Friday, March the 8th at the Over Under Sports Bar. And we will catch y'all next time. We appreciate y'all tuning in.
Beyond the Big Ten is a network of podcasts that aims to be your go-to resource for all things Big Ten. We cover the entire conference with shows hosted by ex-players and athletic alumni, aiming to be your go-to source of information and entertainment for your favorite team. Hosted by ex-Big Ten players, media, and insiders, our podcasts are focused on giving diehard fans and those alums an inside scoop about the teams and people that make the Big Ten Conference one of the most watched and most talked about conferences in sports. We're excited to talk Big Ten basketball with you wherever you may be. Subscribe now.